Kane's pove. I was laying on her bed naked. She looked at me with a confused and shocked expression. She was fully dressed, yet I still found her attractive and incredibly sexy. Her eyes were half-lidded, but they burned like ice. I could see the desire in her eyes. She wanted me just as much as I wanted her. I could feel it. Even my wolf could tell. I just wanted to be with her, to touch her, to tempt her, to want her. God, I wanted her. I didn't just want her. I ached for her. I could smell the shift in her scent, the small change that only a bonded mate could ever recognize. It was faint, but it was there, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. My wolf stirred, growling beneath my skin. He needed his mate more than anything. I thought I could be around her and be fine. I thought wrong. The curve of her bare shoulder, the defiance in her chin, the fire in her damn eyes, eyes that used to look at me with so much softness, so much love. But now, there was a wall there, high and cold. She was daring me to try anyway, so I did. "You're staring, Kane," she said flatly. "And you're naked in my bed." I smirked. "You're beautiful, Kathy. What do you expect me to do? Talk about the weather?" She rolled her eyes, but I didn't miss the small twitch at the corner of her lips. She was amused. Or maybe she wanted to be. "You've seen me before. Don't act like it's new," she muttered, turning slightly. My gaze trailed down the smooth line of her spine, and my throat went dry. "You're right," I murmured, sitting up, but it still drove me mad every damn time. Her breath hitched for just a second, but I heard it. I felt it. That flicker of something. Longing, maybe? Desire? Hope? I slowly sat at the edge of the bed. I didn't touch her yet. Not until I knew she wanted me to. "You still pretend I don't affect you," I said. "That I don't crawl under your skin every time I'm near. Go, but I do, don't I?" Kathy lifted her chin, narrowing her eyes at me. "You're full of yourself," she said with a scoff. I stood up, and as soon as I did, I saw her eye me up and down. Her eyes darkened a little. "No, I'm full of you. Always have been," I said. Her breath caught again, and I took that as my opening. I walked toward her, slow and deliberate. She retreated instinctively, step after step, until her back hit the wall. I caged her in, one hand braced beside her head. "Say you don't want me," I whispered. "Say it, Kathy. Lie to me." Her jaw tightened. I pressed closer, my voice dipping lower. "Say you don't remember how good we were. How good I made you feel. Say your body doesn't still ache when I'm near. Say it." She was trembling, just slightly. I inhaled deeply, her scent. Her sweet scent filled my senses. My wolf was howling now, clawing at my chest, desperate to be let loose. It took everything in me to stay in control. "Kane," she warned. Her voice was trembling, but not with fear, with need. I lowered my lips to the curve of her neck, not quite kissing her, just hovering, letting my breath tease her skin. I spoke again, barely above a growl. "You act like ice, but you burn under me. You always did," I whispered. And then, just to test her, just to feel her, I pressed a kiss to the spot just below her ear. She gasped. Her hands rose, not to push me away, but to clutch at my chest. But then she found her resolve. She pushed at my chest and glared up at me. Her cheeks were flushed. Her chest was rising and falling with heavy breaths. "You're a bastard," she snapped. "You left. You broke me. You don't get to walk back in and pretend nothing happened." I nodded slowly. My smirk faded. "I know, and I don't expect forgiveness, but I wasn't pretending." "Then leave. Now, or I swear I'll reject you." That hit me like a blade straight through the ribcage. My wolf snarled in panic. I froze. She meant it. There was steel in her eyes. There was a finality in her voice I didn't expect. And even though it hurt, God, it hurt, I wouldn't force her. I pulled away. "All right," I said, "if that's what you want." I turned to leave, even though every muscle in my body was screaming in protest. It took every single thing inside me not to get on my knees and beg her. But just as I took a few steps, I felt something, arms, wrapping around my waist from behind. Her. She was holding me. Tightly. Like she was afraid I'd disappear if she let go. I went still, breath caught in my throat, her forehead pressed against my back, and I felt her chest rise and fall. "Damn it, Kane," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I hate you so much for what you did, but I still—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to, because that one gesture, her arms around me, said everything. Kathy's pov. I could feel his heat against my cheek. I could feel his heat radiating off his whole body. What was wrong with me? He'd ruin me again. He already had once. "Kane," I said, pulling away from him. "Leave." I watched his shoulders stiffen. For a moment I thought he'd argue, that he'd fight for me, for us. But then he nodded. He moved towards the balcony with slow steps. I should have been relieved. He was leaving, after all. I should be happy, right? Instead, I felt a sudden, dizzying ache. It felt like there was a black hole opening in the center of my chest. The moment he stepped out, I couldn't breathe. And that's when she stirred. My wolf growled angrily at me. She was wild, restless, furious. "He's ours," she said firmly. "No," I whispered aloud. "He's dangerous. He hurt us." But my wolf didn't listen. She spread out her energy like fire through my veins, demanding him, calling to him with a voice louder than my thoughts. "He still wants us. You saw it. Felt it," she said. "Give in. Stop being so stubborn." I had felt it. Every word, every filthy whisper against my skin, every touch, every look that melted my spine. I saw it in the way he trembled, just holding back. I felt it when he kissed my neck and my heart pounded like a drum beneath my ribs. I hated how much I remembered, how much I missed it. My body betrayed me first. The burn between my thighs, the tremble in my fingers, the heat pulsing low in my belly, and then the sound, a whimper, pathetic and needy, and it came from me. I pushed myself forward, my head was spinning, and I could feel my wolf pulling me toward the door, toward him, toward the only man who ever made me feel like this. I got to the balcony, and he was still there. He hadn't left. He stood just outside my room, hand braced against the railing, breathing like he'd just fought off a war. His chest was rising and falling heavily. His head dropped between his shoulders. His eyes were squeezed shut. He was fighting himself, just like I was. "Kane," I said, barely above a whisper. He turned slowly. Our eyes met, and something snapped. We didn't move. We crashed. Before I knew what was happening, his hands were on my hips, dragging me forward. My nails raked his back, clawing at his skin. Our lips crashed with passion. His teeth grazed my skin. Tongues collided. There was no space between us, just heat, need, memory. I don't know we did. Kane spun me and pressed me against the wall. I arched into him, breathless, helpless. My core was aching with need. "You're playing a dangerous game," I panted between kisses. His voice was hoarse. "You started it. Now finish it." "I told you to leave," I gasped. "I tried," he growled. "You stopped me." I didn't deny it. Because he was right. His hands explored every inch of me, and mine memorized every line of him again. There was no thought, no logic. Just him. Just this. The feel of his lips tracing my jaw, the hard length of his body pressing into mine. When he pushed me against the bed, I didn't fight him. I welcomed it. He hovered over me, his eyes searching mine. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. "And I will." I stared at him, at the man who shattered me, who was now trying so desperately not to break me again. And that was what destroyed me. Because I wanted him. Even if it killed me. Even if I hated myself in the morning. "I can't," I whispered. "I don't want you to stop." His mouth crashed down on mine, and the last of my control dissolved. I barely remember how the clothes disappeared. I could only remember the feel of skin against skin. His touch was fire. His kiss was punishment and worship all at once. "I still love you," he said. I froze. The words shouldn't have felt like a knife, but they did. "Don't say that," I murmured, turning away. He reached out, gently trailing his fingers down my neck. "It's the truth." "The truth doesn't matter anymore," I replied. "You left me when I needed you the most. Love doesn't erase that." He was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "I know." His voice cracked. I didn't want to dwell on it, so I kissed him again. I was desperate to forget everything. In this moment, all I wanted was him, Kathy's POV. The next morning, the sunlight came in through the curtains as I stirred. I blinked slowly, trying to fight the dull ache in my chest. For a second, just a second, I let myself believe this was how every morning could be. Kane lay beside me with his arm wrapped lazily across my waist. His face was peaceful as he slept. I watched the slow rise and fall of his chest, his lips slightly parted, dark lashes resting against his skin. His hair was tousled, and he looked softer, younger somehow, beautiful in a way that made something inside me twist painfully. God, I wished things were different. I wished this wasn't temporary. I wished this wasn't built on betrayal and heartbreak. I wished I didn't have to keep my feelings caged in my chest like a wounded animal. I closed my eyes again, letting myself drift into a foolish dream. In my mind, Kane and I were in a different world. A better world. One where there was no Violet, no betrayal, no dungeon walls, just us. We were lying in bed together in our room. Our bodies were tangled beneath white linen sheets. I rolled toward him, and he caught my waist, pulling me close with that boyish grin he always gave when he was teasing. "Morning, gorgeous," he whispered, brushing a kiss on my collarbone. "Still mine?" "I don't know," I teased, tugging playfully on his hair. "Are you going to steal the covers again?" He laughed, kissed me harder, slower this time, and I melted into him. Every touch was gentle, full of laughter and love. Not betrayal, not pain. Then the door burst open, and two little creatures jumped onto the bed. Noah and Arya, shouting, "Mommy, Daddy!" I laughed as Arya's curls bounced in her eyes. She jumped on me. Noah tried to climb Cain's back, shouting, "Giddy up, horsey!" Cain growled playfully, grabbed them both, and tossed them gently onto the bed. We were a mess of laughter, squeals, and tickles. He kissed me on the forehead and then kissed both of them, pulling us all into a family hug. That was the dream. That was the fantasy. My heart ached as the warmth of that imaginary world shattered, and I was dragged back into cold, cruel reality. This wasn't a fairy tale. This wasn't forever. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have let my guard down. I sat up slowly, brushing hair out of my face. My eyes traced over Cain's face again. I couldn't help it. His brows twitched, and his eyes opened. Those icy blue eyes that had once looked at me with nothing but cruelty, and now they looked soft, hopeful. "Good morning," he whispered with a smile that made my stomach flutter. But the flutter was followed by a weight, a memory, so many of them. Those same eyes, once narrowed in judgment, watching me as I was dragged into the dungeon. As the whip cracked, as I screamed, he never flinched, never stopped it. Those same hands, now resting gently against my waist, were once clenched in fists as he defended Violet over and over again. I remembered the date that was never a date, the one we had when I got discharged from the hospital the last time. The one where he sat across from me, my heart foolishly fluttering in my chest, only for him to order all of Violet's favorite dishes and say with no emotion to Violet that we weren't on a date. He had humiliated me. He had broken me. And yet I loved him. I hated that I still did. "Kathy?" Cain's voice was soft now. His hand reached to touch my face. "You okay?" I forced a smile. "Of course." But there was venom behind the smile. I got up from bed, still naked, walked over to where my jeans were folded on the chair, pulled a crisp $100 bill from the pocket, and turned back to him. I tossed it onto his chest. He blinked, caught it. "What's this?" "Payment," I said flatly. "For your services last night." His eyes darkened immediately. He sat up. I could feel the anger radiating off him. "What the hell do you mean by that?" I folded my arms across my chest, keeping my voice steady. "You didn't really think this meant something, did you? That we're suddenly in love again after everything you've done?" His jaw tightened. "So last night meant nothing to you?" "Nothing," I spat. "Just scratching an itch." He stared at me like I'd slapped him. "That's not true." I raised a brow. "Isn't it, Cain? You used me. You broke me, over and over again, and I let you. I let you crawl into my bed and touch me like you still had the right." His hands curled into fists. "You? Don't get it twisted, Cain. You never cared for me, and you showed me that every time. Every time you picked Violet, every time you punished me, every time you left me bleeding in that damn dungeon." He stood, breathing hard, then turned sharply and shifted into his wolf form. Without a word, he stormed out of the room, choosing to run rather than face me naked in front of the pack. I let out a slow breath, collapsing onto the bed again. Good, let him leave, because I couldn't afford to be tangled in him anymore. My family, my dignity, those were the things I had left. I had my kids to focus on. I wrapped the sheets tighter around my body, closing my eyes against the sting of tears. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when James came running in. "Kathy! Kathy!" "You're not going to believe this." I turned, startled by his excitement. "What? What happened?" He grinned. "We can visit Mom in the dungeon. Cain gave permission. We can go today." My heart stopped. "What?" He nodded quickly. "I swear, he sent a messenger this morning, said we're allowed a short visit, you, me, and the kids." I stared at him, dumbfounded. Why? Why would Cain suddenly allow that? Why now? I didn't know whether to feel joy or suspicion, but my heart beat a little faster at the thought of seeing my mother and talking to her. After all this time, I swallowed hard, nodding slowly. Okay, let's get ready. As James ran off to get the kids, I stood frozen in place. What was Kane playing at? And why did it feel like I was about to step into another storm? Kane's pove. I couldn't help thinking of the $100 bill she threw at me this morning. That's all it was to her? A tip? I stood there for a long while in my bedroom, shirtless, still smelling like her, but all of that meant nothing now, not when she'd shoved a bill in my palm, like I was a damn escort. Unbelievable, I muttered. She actually threw money at me. My fingers clenched into a fist, anger spread through my chest. But beneath it was something far more dangerous. Hurt. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. I wasn't supposed to care, but I did. Last night had meant something to me. More than I wanted to admit. Her touch, her scent, the way she'd whispered my name when she came undone beneath me. And now this? Why the hell did she do that? I barked, pacing across the room. Did it mean nothing to her? You're looking at this all wrong. My wolf's voice entered my mind, calm and deep. The complete opposite of me in this moment. Oh, you think being treated like a one-night stand is a good thing now? I snapped. She tossed me a bill, like I'm cheap muscle off the street. She didn't reject our touch, he retorted. That's your defense? She didn't push us away, Kane. She could have, but she let us hold her. She let us in. She paid me, I growled. She devalued everything She's scared, confused, trying to distance herself emotionally, but her body didn't lie, did it? I faltered. I remembered the way her breath hitched when I kissed her neck, the way her fingers had clung to my shoulders like she was drowning, her voice whispering my name like a prayer. No, her body hadn't lied. She enjoyed last night as much as I did. But still. You hurt her once. She doesn't trust easy. You think she's going to just melt into your arms and forget everything? He asked me. I swallowed hard. I never wanted to hurt her. Then prove it. Not with sex. Not with anger. Show her she matters. I let out a deep breath. Maybe he was right. My wolf usually was, even when he drove me crazy. I didn't want to leave things this way. I had to do something. I decided to make a gesture, something meaningful. I focused on my mind link and reached out for my head guard. I ordered him to come to my room. Alpha, he said, bowing as he entered. I want you to send word to James and Kathy. Tell them they can visit their mother. His eyes widened slightly. In the dungeon, Alpha? Yes. I paused. Supervised, of course. He bowed again and left. Maybe that would soften her heart toward me. Maybe. Hours passed. I buried myself in pack matters, reports, training schedules, supply requests, but my heart wasn't in it. My mind kept circling back to her, Kathy. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I needed her like the air that I breathed. A knock on the door pulled me from my thoughts. Come in, I said, rubbing my temples. My mother stepped in. Her presence was as commanding as ever despite her age. Her silver hair was pulled back in a bun and her eyes looked at me intensely. We need to talk, she said, taking a seat without waiting for an invitation. Of course, we do, I muttered. I knew this conversation wouldn't end well. This was my mother we were talking about. We were bound to argue. I've spoken to the council. They agree it's time you married Violet, she said. I blinked. I'm sorry. What? You've delayed long enough, she said, crossing her arms. She's been helping with pack matters for years. She's earned her place, and you owe her. I stared at her in disbelief. I owe her? She saved your life. Yeah, once, and then she killed Elder Alyosha. My mother stiffened. That was a necessary sacrifice. Alyosha's vision. He prophesied she'd be my Luna. I stood. And look how that turned out. You dare defy prophecy? I dare to trust my own judgment. We glared at each other. She's cunning, manipulative, and dangerous, I hissed. If I hadn't intervened, she would have had Kathy executed without blinking. She's efficient, my mother countered. She gets things done. Unlike that girl who would have blinded you. Her name is Kathy. My mother rose. You don't see it yet, but you will. When Violet becomes Luna, this pack will stabilize. You'll stop chasing ghosts. I'm not marrying Violet, I said firmly. Not now. Not ever. You've made a mistake, she said, and with that she stood up and left. As soon as the door closed behind her, I clenched my fists. I fought the urge to scream out loud and throw everything on my table on the floor. My mother sure knew how to frustrate me. I needed air. I grabbed my jacket and left the office. My mind was spinning with everything. Kathy, Violet, and the prophecy that seemed to have poisoned everything from the start. I drove to the mall, needing something mindless. I thought of getting some toys for Noah and Arya. Maybe they would learn to warm up to me with time. The toy store was bright as usual. I got in. I was halfway through picking out a plush dragon when a flash of purple caught my eye. I turned sharply and saw her, Violet. She was standing near the fountain, talking to someone I didn't recognize. A tall man. He wore a dark coat, hooded. I couldn't make out his face. I moved behind a rack of balloons to get a better look, but the moment I blinked, the stranger was gone. It seemed like he vanished into thin air. Violet looked startled, glancing around with wide eyes. Then her gaze landed on me. "Kane?" she asked, blinking rapidly. "What are you doing here?" "Kathy's Pove. I didn't trust anyone to watch the twins. Not today. Not when I was going into the dungeon, the place they'd locked up my mother like some criminal." Noah clung to my arm. His eyes were filled with curiosity while Ira skipped ahead. "Are we really going to see Grandma?" Arya asked. "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "You'll get to meet her today." I didn't add finally, or if only it were under better circumstances. I didn't have the heart. James walked beside me, hands clenched in his pockets. He was silent. I could tell he was lost in thought. I could feel his anger radiating off him, same as mine. We hadn't seen Mom in years, and now we were told she killed my dad. I didn't buy it for 1 second. My mom adored our dad. She wouldn't do it. She wasn't capable of hurting anyone. And now, I didn't know what state she'd be in, but I prepared myself for the worst. The guard led us through a narrow stone corridor until we reached a thick iron door. He unlocked it and pushed it open, gesturing us inside the visitation room. 10 minutes, he said, then stepped out. The air was colder here. It was heavier, too. My heart pounded painfully as I stepped through the door, and then I saw her. "Mom," I whispered. She turned, and her face lit up. She looked older, tired. There were faint lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, but she was unhurt, no bruises, no chains, just her in a plain dress, standing tall. I gasped and nearly collapsed from relief. "Kathy," she cried, rushing to me. I met her halfway, and we crashed into each other in a hug that stole the breath from my lungs. I clung to her like a child, burying my face in her shoulder. "You've been through so much," she whispered into my hair. I nodded, fighting the sob in my throat. "So have you." "I'm okay," she said. "I'm here." "We're going to fix this," I choked. "I swear to you, Mom, we'll prove your innocence." She pulled back just enough to cup my face. "You're so strong. Look at you." I wiped my eyes quickly and stepped aside. "There's someone I want you to meet." I turned to Noah and Ira. "This is Grandma," I said softly. "Go on." Noah took cautious steps forward. Ira, braver, launched into Mom's arms without hesitation. "Hi, Grandma," she squealed. Mom knelt, hugging both children tightly as Noah joined her. Her shoulders shook as tears spilled down her cheeks. "My angels," she whispered. "You're so beautiful. I've waited so long to see you." "Mom," I said, watching the scene with a heavy heart, "this is Noah and Ira." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "They're perfect." James stepped forward. "Hi, Mom." She stood to embrace him too, and for a moment we were just a family again. No accusations, no chains, just us. "I wish we met like this on a picnic or something," Mom said softly as she stroked Arya's hair. "Not in this stone box." "I know," I whispered. Once the kids settled on the floor with the small toys I'd brought, James moved close. "Tell us what happened that night," he said. Mom exhaled slowly and sat down, her fingers twisting in her lap. "The night your father died," she began, "I got a message, a letter. There was no name, no signature, just instructions to go to a specific location outside the pack borders." "That's weird," I muttered. "What did it say?" "It said if I didn't come alone, he would die. I thought it was a prank, but when I tried to call your father, nothing. His phone kept going to voicemail. That's when I panicked." "So you went?" James asked. She nodded. "I ran there as fast as I could. When I arrived, he was already dead." Her voice cracked on the last word, and I felt my stomach churn. She wiped the tears from her eyes as her body trembled. "They ambushed me there, patrol guards. It was like they were waiting. They arrested me on the spot. Then, later, they said they found poison in my room. Same poison that killed your father." "What about the letter?" I asked. "Gone," she said bitterly. "I left it on my dresser. When they searched the house, it wasn't there. Someone cleared it." "This was a setup," I whispered. "Yes," Mom said. "I don't know by who, but I know I was framed. I stood so fast my chair scraped the floor. Kane should have seen this. He knows you. He should have. My voice cracked. Believed you. Kathy, James started, but I was already moving. No, I said. I'm done waiting. I'm going to confront him. Without wasting any more time, I stormed out of the dungeon. My anger increased with every step. My fists clenched. My heart was filled with anger and fury, and then I turned a corner and stopped dead in my tracks. That was when I saw her. Luna Helen, Kane's mother. I hadn't seen her in 4 years, not since all the times she would maltreat me, not since she spat in my direction and called me a disgrace. She did so many vile things to me, and now she stood there like royalty, dressed in a royal velvet robe. Well, well, she said with a smirk. The traitor's daughter. My breath caught. How dare you, I whispered. She stepped closer, raising her chin high. If you're here to beg for your mother's life, save your breath. The evidence is damning. The only thing damning is your son's loyalty to a murderer like Violet. Her face twisted. You will not speak of Violet that way. She nearly killed me. She killed Elder Alyosha. She lied. She schemed. You're jealous. Helen sneered. You always were. You were a stain on Kane's life. He was stronger after you left. Then why does he still come crawling back? I snapped. Why does he still chase me? Her eyes narrowed. Because he's weak when it comes to you, and that weakness will ruin him. Like you ruined your family? I shot back. Like you drove your own son to despise everything good in his life? Her hand came fast and sharp across my face. My head snapped sideways as she slapped me. My cheek burned. The silence was deafening. And then, without thinking, I slapped her right back. Kane's Poe. Violet stood in front of me, looking at me with a shocked expression. What are you doing here, Kane? She asked for the 3rd time. Her voice had a hint of fear, like she had been caught doing something she wasn't supposed to. Who was that man? And how did he disappear so fast? What were they talking about that seemed so secretive? My wolf paced inside me. He warned me that something wasn't right. Something about the scent in the air, about the way she had been speaking to that werewolf just before I arrived. It reeked of secrets. But that wasn't why I was here. Not now. I couldn't afford to get derailed. I need to talk to you, I said. She narrowed her eyes at me. Can't it wait until we're back at the palace? No, I replied flatly. It can't. I could feel every word that was about to leave my mouth. It pressed on my chest like a boulder, but I had carried it long enough. I had been trapped between what the world wanted from me and what I wanted for myself, and I wasn't doing it anymore. She looked up at me with an intensity that made my throat tighten. I wasn't blind. I knew Violet cared for me. Hell, I cared about her too, but it wasn't the same. It never had been. Not like Kathy. I'm not going to bind myself to you, I said. Her face froze. She blinked once, then again, slowly, like she hadn't heard me right. What? She whispered. Now that Kathy's back, I can't pretend anymore. I'm not going to go through with it. The binding, I won't lie to either of us. Violet's face went red immediately. Her lips parted as if she was going to yell, but nothing came out for a moment. And then, you're kidding, she asked. Kane, how can you, after everything, how can you do this to me? I tried to take a step forward, but she stepped back. Violet, listen. No, you listen, she snapped. Her voice trembled, but her body didn't. She was angry. No. Furious. I bore the phoenix mark, Kane. You know what that means. I'm the one from the prophecy. I was chosen. I looked her dead in the eyes. I don't care. The silence that followed was deafening. I don't care about the prophecy anymore, I said slowly. Elder Alyosha is dead. That prophecy, it controlled me for too long, and maybe I let it. Maybe I was too scared to fight it back then, but not anymore. And Kathy? She asked in disbelief. You're choosing her? Now? After everything? I love her. There, I said it. For the first time, I said it. I admitted it. I wouldn't hold back anymore. I could feel Violet trembling. All I wanted now was to get Kathy back. I needed her to forgive me. I wanted to focus on the twins. Kathy gave me children. We should be a family. Why now? She whispered. Why not when she first left? Because I was a coward. I didn't sugarcoat it. Because I let fate and responsibility and titles speak louder than my heart. I failed her. I chose duty over love, and I'm not doing that again. To my surprise, she stayed calm. The fire in her eyes faded, and for a long moment she just looked at me. Finally, she nodded, just once. Okay then, she said. I want to talk to Kathy to fix any misunderstandings. I nodded. All right then. We drove back to the palace in silence. Violet walked beside me. Her aura was calm, composed, too composed. She didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't scream. When we arrived, I could hear voices echoing from inside. Angry ones, female ones. My heart dropped into my stomach. What was going on? I could hear Kathy's voice. I didn't know what I expected, but nothing prepared me for what I saw. My mother and Kathy were toe-to-toe in the hallway. Kathy's hair was wild and her cheeks reflushed with anger. My mother's expression was cold and disapproving, like a queen addressing a traitor. You think you can just waltz back in here with your secrets and claim what you walked away from? My mother spat. And you think you can treat me like I'm nothing just because I don't kneel at your feet? Kathy shot back. Stop it, I growled, stepping between them. Both of you. I turned to Kathy, ready to explain everything, but the moment she looked at me, I froze. Her eyes, gods, her eyes. The pain in them made it hard to breathe. She looked at me, then at Violet, who had just entered the room behind me. Her expression changed in a heartbeat, from fury to sadness. Her lips trembled, her shoulders dropped. It was like watching someone get stabbed in the back in slow motion. Kathy, I tried to reach for her. She took a step back. Oh no, Kathy's POV. There are moments in life that scar themselves into your bones. This was one of them. After the argument with Helen, my breath was shaky, uneven. Then I saw him, Kane, and beside him, her, Violet, his fiancée, his choice, the woman he always chose over me. I didn't want to flinch, but I did. When Kane reached for me, I stepped back. Seeing them together stung in a way I hadn't been prepared for. No matter how much I told myself that it was over, that he'd made his choice long ago, it still felt like being pierced by 1,000 burning needles all at once. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to stay composed. But when Kane's eyes locked on mine, I saw something in them. Concern? Guilt? Too late for that. What the hell is going on here? He asked. I noticed Luna Helen straighten beside me. She's being impossible, Helen snapped before I could say a word. As usual, stirring trouble where there is none. Kane didn't immediately look at her. He was looking at me. Kathy, he said gently, stepping closer, I want to hear your side of this. I couldn't help it. I laughed. It was a cold, hollow sound that made Helen huff in irritation. Oh, now you want to hear my side. I raised an eyebrow, crossing my arms. Is this the part where you pretend to care? Or are you just doing damage control because everyone is watching? His jaw clenched slightly, but his eyes stayed soft. I know you, Kathy, he said in a soft way that made my heart twist against my will. You're not that kind of person. I scoffed. Really? Since when? When I told you I was pregnant and you still accused me of crimes and locked me in the dungeon? Or when you watched silently as your mother and Violet paraded lies about me through the palace? His mouth opened, but no words came. I stepped forward. I could feel the bitterness rising inside me. You don't get to play the hero now, Kane. You left me in the dirt and climbed a golden ladder with Violet while I was bleeding at the bottom, and now you remember who I am. He looked like I'd slapped him. Helen tried to intervene. Enough of this. No, Kane cut her off sharply. He turned to face her fully. You owe Kathy an apology. Helen froze, stunned. What? She whispered. I blinked in shock. What did he just say? You heard me, he said. You've overstepped again and again. You've insulted her, humiliated her. What? And I let it happen. That's on me. But this ends now. Apologize. Helen's lips curled like she'd tasted acid. I will not. Kane turned back to me and reached into the bag he was holding. He pulled out a small bag and held it out. I got this for you, he said, his voice softer now. It's a token of apology and recognition. I stared at it. Then I took it and threw it straight to the ground. Everyone gasped. Violet flinched. Kane's expression darkened as the bag landed at his feet. Oh, how generous, I snapped. A little gift to shut me up, to say sorry for years of abandonment? Tell me, Kane, is this how you fix all your mistakes? Kathy, Violet spoke in a fake, sweet tone, we're just trying to make peace. This isn't how. Don't, I growled, turning to her. Don't pretend you care. You think I don't see right through that polite smile of yours? I know exactly what this is. You're trying to sweep the past under a rug and move on like it didn't matter. I am trying to move on, Kane said suddenly, with the truth, with the right people. My heart jumped at that, but I didn't let it show. Too little, too late. Then, like a prayer answered by the gods, James arrived with the twins, my babies. Their bright little eyes found me immediately, and both of them reached out without hesitation. No one else mattered in that moment. I moved toward them, scooping them into my arms as their tiny hands clutched my hair, my dress, anything they could hold on to. "Let's go," I told James without looking back. "Kathy," Kane tried, but I didn't turn around. I didn't let him see the tears in my eyes. We got home just before nightfall. The kids were already dozing off by the time James laid them down in their beds. I stood silently in the doorway, watching them breathe, watching the rise and fall of the two souls that mattered more to me than anything else in this world. Only after a long silence did I speak. I shouldn't have let them get to me. James glanced at me from the doorway. "You're only human, Kathy. Even a phoenix can burn out." I huffed a small laugh at that and leaned against the wall. Maybe? Or maybe I'm just tired of fighting people who never cared in the first place. James stepped forward and handed me a glass of water. "You cared. That's what makes you different from them." I took the glass and sipped slowly, then met his gaze. "You know what? Let's talk about Mom." It was time to focus on something that really mattered. Kathy's povey. Right now, all I could think about was Mom. My chest felt tight, like a rubber band pulled too far back and threatening to snap. I thought about it all, being locked away, the betrayal, the way everyone seemed so quick to point fingers and turn their backs on her. But I knew her. I knew the woman who raised me, who kissed my scraped knees and held my hand when I was scared of thunderstorms. That woman wasn't capable of what they accused her of. James and I sat in the living room after dinner. Both of us were quiet. I kept clenching and unclenching my fists as I stared at the floor. "She said there was a missing message," I murmured, more to myself than to James. He nodded. "If we can find that message, Kathy, it'll prove she wasn't lying, that she was set up." I chewed on my bottom lip, feeling anxious. And how do we even begin finding a message that someone erased? I'm not a tech genius, James. I barely know how to use half the apps on my phone. He smiled gently at that. "We'll find someone who knows. There's always someone. A hacker, maybe. Maybe Kane knows someone. Should we ask him?" "Kane?" I asked bitterly. If Kane actually cared, if he really had someone who could help, Mom would have been cleared already. He's alpha, for crying out loud. He has resources, power, connections, but did he lift a finger for her? James stayed quiet, not arguing, not pushing. He knew better than anyone what had gone down between Kane and me. The damage couldn't be erased. I would never forget the betrayal, the way his loyalty faltered when it mattered most. I could never trust him again. I wouldn't. "I'm calling Derek," I said, standing up. "If anyone's going to help me now, it's him." James just nodded. "Whatever it takes to get Mom out. I've got your back, Kathy. Always." My throat tightened at that. I gave his shoulder a squeeze before heading upstairs. When I got to my room, I shut the door behind me and leaned against it for a second, just breathing. Then I picked up my phone and dialed Derek's number. It rang once, twice. "Kathy," he answered. "Hey, baby." My heart softened. I sank onto my bed, tucking my legs beneath me as I smiled into the phone. "Hey, I've missed you." "I've missed you more," he replied. "Every second away from you feels too long." I closed my eyes, letting the sound of his voice calm me. Derek had always had that effect. He knew how to calm me, the kind of person you could lean into and know they wouldn't let you fall. "You okay?" he asked gently. "You sound tense," I sighed. "I've just been thinking about Mom, about how we can clear her name. There's a message she mentioned, a missing one. If we can find it, it'll prove her innocence." He didn't even hesitate. "I'll help you." "You will?" "Of course." He said, "Whatever you need, Kathy, you're not alone in this." Tears prickled the corners of my eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he teased lightly. "I haven't done anything heroic yet." I let out a soft laugh, and it felt good. "I might know a guy," Derek said. "He's a bit of a ghost, off-the-grid type, but if anyone can find a deleted message, it's him. I'll reach out." I felt relieved as soon as he said that. "You're amazing." "I'm just a guy in love with a stubborn, beautiful woman who refuses to give up." I laughed again, shaking my head. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Derek." "Oh, really?" he purred. "Then let me try harder." His voice dipped, turning playful. I've been thinking about you, the way your lips taste, the sound you make when I whisper behind your ear. I bit down on a smile. I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks. Derek? Say my name like that again and I might lose it. You're impossible, I said with a giggle, leaning back into my pillows. And you're dangerously irresistible, he shot back. His voice sent tingles down my spine. If I were there right now, I'd have you pinned under me, whispering how much I've missed you while I kiss you breathless. My breath caught. He was so good at this, at knowing exactly what to say to make my heart race and my mind go hazy. I wish you were here, I admitted softly. Soon, he promised. Once everything is sorted out, I'll come running. But as we flirted, something started tugging at the edge of my mind. Kane. In that moment, all I saw was his face, his voice. Why was he invading my thoughts now? I shook my head and tried to focus on Derek's voice, but Kane was relentless. His face kept flashing behind my eyelids, pulling at something I'd buried. I hated it. I didn't want Derek to notice my silence, so I forced a smile. I should get going. Arya's waiting for me. Derek didn't sound disappointed. Of course. Call me if you need anything, okay? I love you. I love you too, I whispered before ending the call. I let out a long breath and set the phone down beside me. My mind was a chaotic mess of thoughts, about Mom, about the hacker, about Kane and Derek, and everything in between. I pressed the heel of my palms to my eyes and forced the noise to quiet. Just then, the door opened. I looked up to see Arya standing there. She had her little stuffed fox clutched in her arms, and her wide, sleepy eyes blinked at me. "Mommy?" she whispered. My heart melted. "What is it, baby?" "I want to sleep with you tonight." She pouted. "Please?" All my worries, all the chaos going on, all faded in an instant. I opened my arms. "Come here, sweetheart." She ran into them, curling against my chest like she'd been waiting all day for this. I stroked her soft curls and kissed the top of her head. I breathed in her scent. This was what made everything worth it. "Kathy's Pove. Why do you want to sleep with Mommy tonight, baby?" I asked her. She didn't answer. She just snuggled more into me. Arya's tiny fingers curled into the fabric of my nightgown. I brushed her curls back from her forehead, savoring the feel of her little body against mine. For a moment, I allowed myself to forget all the chaos, all the problems, all the pain. "Mommy?" Her voice was so soft, I almost thought I imagined it. "Yes, sweetheart," I whispered back, stroking her hair gently, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "I've been thinking about that man," she murmured. "The one who looked like Noah." My heart stilled. My fingers froze in her hair. "What man, baby?" I asked, though I already knew. I was just praying, foolishly, that I was wrong. "Alpha Kane," she said. "I saw him the other day, and he looked just like Noah, like they were mirrors, and I've been seeing him in my dreams." My lungs locked, my wolf stirred uncomfortably, and my whole body went cold. I stared up at the ceiling, trying to keep my composure. Kane. Of course it would be him. They were his children, even if he didn't know. Even if I had fought so hard to pretend otherwise. Then came the question. The one I had dreaded since the moment I found out I was pregnant. "Is that man our dad?" she asked me. This girl was just too smart for her own good. She and her brother. I felt a deep pang right through my chest, like her innocent words had pierced straight into my soul. She looked up at me then. Her eyes were wide with curiosity, hope, and something more, something deep. I felt sick with guilt. I'd always known this day would come, but I had convinced myself it was still years away, that I had time. I didn't. I couldn't lie anymore. I swallowed hard. "Yes," I said. "Kane is your father." For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then Arya smiled. Not just a tiny smile, a beaming, radiant one that made her eyes glow and her whole face light up with joy. She giggled and sat up slightly, placing her hands on my shoulders. "Really?" "Yes, really," I said, brushing her cheek with my thumb, trying to smile back. "Why aren't you together?" she asked suddenly, tilting her head. She looked confused. That one made my breath catch in my throat. I closed my eyes for a moment and kissed her forehead gently. "Some things are just too complicated right now. You'll understand when you're older." She blinked at me, then nodded as if she understood. "Okay." She laid her head back against me and cuddled close. We stayed in silence for a while, and I thought the conversation was over until she spoke again. "Our birthday is coming up," she whispered. "Can we go to the amusement park with Daddy?" My heart squeezed so tightly I thought it might shatter. I looked down at her. Her hopeful little face, her wide eyes, so full of wonder and love for a man she barely knew, and yet already felt deeply connected to. That look pierced right through every wall I'd built around myself. I had no defense against her. I nodded slowly, whispering, "Okay, baby, I'll ask him." Arya smiled contentedly and burrowed deeper into me. As she drifted towards sleep, I reached for my phone on the nightstand. My fingers trembled slightly as I unlocked the screen. I stared at his name in my messages for a long while. Kane. The last time we spoke, I told him the twins weren't his. I could still see the hurt in his eyes. But now my wolf paced in my mind, restless and pushing against me, urging me. It was time. Time to tell him the truth. Time to stop running. The truth had claws now, and it was tearing me apart from the inside out. I took a breath, typed out the message, and hit send before I could second-guess it. "The twins want to go to the amusement park with you on their birthday," I sent to him. I stared at the message as it sent. My hands trembled. 3 seconds later, the message was marked read, and then, almost immediately, the typing dots appeared. I froze. He replied, "I'd love that. Tell me when and where, please." "Thank you, Kathy." Even through a screen, I could feel his excitement. I could almost picture him reading the message, maybe smiling for the first time in days, weeks. That image stirred something deep in my chest. Something like longing. But I didn't reply. I didn't trust myself to say the right thing. Not yet. Instead, I set the phone down on the nightstand and held Arya tightly, kissing the top of her head and whispering, "I love you, baby girl." As her breathing evened out and she drifted into sleep, I stared up at the ceiling once again. But this time, it wasn't guilt that filled me. It was the realization that the truth was finally beginning to come out. And soon, nothing would ever be the same. Kane's Pove. Every damn day, I felt the distance between Kathy and me widen like a canyon I couldn't cross, no matter how hard I tried. And the people closest to me, the ones who should have helped, were the ones building the walls higher. Mom was the worst. She would catch me every single time I tried to head out and see Kathy, like she had some sixth sense for my movements. I wanted to see Kathy the day the two of them had a fight. I just wanted to comfort her and to let her know I was on her side. But no, my mom had to ruin it. She appeared in the hallway, arms crossed. Her lips were thinned in disapproval. "Kane, where are you off to?" she asked me. I took in a deep breath. "Not that it's any of your business. I'm going to see Kathy." She narrowed her eyes at me. "You're not seriously going to see her again, are you? She's not right for you. She's been nothing but trouble since the day she walked into your life." I clenched my jaw so tight I could feel the pressure in my ears. "She's done nothing but respect you and do everything you've asked. She's not trouble. She slapped me. That says enough." "After you slapped her? So? She isn't respectful. It says a lot about her character." "No," I growled. "It doesn't say anything except she was hurting, and I wasn't there the way I should have been." Mom's expression twisted with frustration. "You're only hurting yourself chasing after her." "I'm already hurting," I said. "Every day I'm not with her, it tears me apart, so don't stand there and act like I'm making some mistake by wanting her back." She didn't respond, just stepped aside silently, but I knew she hadn't given up. Violet was no better. She started acting sweet, nicer. Like if she could morph into everything Kathy wasn't, she might have the position of Luna immediately. But I noticed everything. One morning I was halfway to the car when Violet came to me with a tray of breakfast and that forced smile I'd grown to resent. "I made this for you," she said. "You've been working so hard lately, you need to eat." I stared at the tray like it was poison. "I'm good," I said, stepping around her. "You don't have to go see her, Kane," she said suddenly. Her voice was softer now. "You can stay. We can talk like we used to." My jaw twitched. "We never used to talk. Not really." "Yes, we did." I turned to her then. At that point, my patience was gone. "There is no us, Violet. You're just a member of the pack." Her face paled, but I wasn't done. "You will never be my Luna," I said flatly. "If you hadn't saved my life that day, I would have exiled you without a second thought." Her lips trembled. "Kane," but I didn't soften. I couldn't. "You made your move when I was broken, but you don't get to play savior and expect my heart in return." Tears filled up in her eyes, and for a second I saw the real Violet. Not the manipulator, not the actress, just a woman hurting because her delusion was finally shattered. But I still didn't care. She turned and ran, and I just stood there. I got in the car, fists clenched on the steering wheel. The palace felt like a cage. I wanted out. I needed Kathy. But she didn't want me anymore. That thought hurt me every time it slipped into my head. She hated me. And I didn't blame her. I'd hurt her in ways I still couldn't forgive myself for. I stared at her number on my phone more times than I could count. My thumb always hovered over the call button, but I never hit it. What could I say that hadn't already been ruined by my actions? I didn't know how long I sat in the car before I finally went back inside, furious with everything and everyone. The walls of the house felt tighter than ever. I was 1 second away from punching a hole in them when my phone buzzed. It was Kathy. My chest froze. For a second, I didn't breathe. Just stared at her name glowing on the screen like some kind of miracle. My heart started pounding as I unlocked the phone with shaky hands. Kathy, the twins want to go to the amusement park with you on their birthday. I read the message over and over, barely believing it was real. She hadn't said she wanted me. She hadn't said she forgave me. But this was something. A crack in the wall. I was ecstatic. Even my wolf howled in excitement. The kids wanted me. That meant they didn't hate me, even if Kathy did. That meant I still had a chance. If I could make them smile, if I could show her that I was trying, that I still cared, maybe it would soften something in her. Maybe she'd remember the man I used to be, the man who would have moved the moon for her. I grinned. For the first time in weeks, I grinned. I texted her back with trembling fingers. I'd love that. Tell me when and where. Thank you, Kathy. The moment I hit send, the weight on my chest lifted just a little. I felt alive. Like there was hope again. Just a thread, but it was more than I'd had before. I was going to see her. I didn't know how she'd act. I didn't know if she'd even look at me. But I'd see her. And the kids. My kids. This was my shot. My opportunity. And I wasn't going to screw it up. Not this time. Cain's Cove. I hadn't felt this excited in months. Maybe years. This day mattered. It was more than just a trip to the amusement park. It was a second chance. Maybe not at fixing everything, but at showing Kathy I could still be a part of our children's lives. That I wasn't the cold, distant man I'd become. That I was still their father. Still hers, somewhere deep down. That's if she wanted me to be. I took my time dressing. That never used to be a thing for me. But today, I cared. I stood in front of the mirror, brushing down my shirt, making sure every crease was smooth, every button lined perfectly. I traded my usual black t-shirt for a dark blue one. Kathy once said made my eyes look softer. It sounded stupid now, but I needed every edge I could get. Hair, neat. Collar, sharp. I looked. Okay, good, even. Not like the cold alpha I always dressed as. This mattered. I was sliding on my jacket when the door burst open. Cain, my new beta Jensen, stood there, breathless. He was sweating. It's Violet. She's hurt. Bad. I froze. What? She was training. Said she wanted to blow off some steam, but something went wrong. She's bleeding. It's a head wound. A couple of ribs might be broken. It looks serious. I clenched my teeth, looking at the clock. There was still time. The amusement park meetup wasn't for another 2 hours. I could handle this. Just check on her, make sure she wasn't dying, and leave. I'll go, I muttered, brushing past him. When I got to Violet's room, the smell of blood hit me hard. She was lying on the couch with a towel pressed to her forehead. Blood soaked through it. Her shirt was torn and dirty from the training grounds. Her breaths were shallow, pained. For a second, I was back in that moment months ago, when she saved my life. Broken ribs, torn skin, her hands trembling as she healed me. I owed her my life. But I didn't owe her this. Not today. Still, I couldn't ignore her like this. Why didn't anyone take her to the hospital? I snapped. She said to wait for you, Jensen replied. Damn it. I knelt beside her. Violet, can you walk? She blinked up at me, dazed. Cain, you came. I didn't mean to ruin anything. Save it. You're bleeding. Come on. I helped her up, carefully wrapping an arm around her. Her weight was light, too light. She winced with every step. I didn't speak the whole ride to the hospital. I just gripped the wheel and tried not to yell at the traffic or the slow nurse at the front desk. All I could think about was Kathy, the kids. Were they already there? Waiting? waiting for a father who couldn't even show up on time. At the hospital, I paced like a madman. Every 5 seconds, I checked the clock. My foot tapped the tiled floor. My chest was tight with frustration and guilt. The nurse had said they'd patch her up soon. Soon wasn't good enough. Come on, I muttered under my breath, clenching and unclenching my fists. You look like you're about to explode, Violet said softly. She was sitting up now, cleaned up. She had a bandage wrapped around her forehead. Her voice was faint. I've got somewhere to be, I said, too tightly. She gave a sad little smile. You should go. I blinked. What? You've been checking the clock like you're on a bomb timer. If it's important, just go. I'm not dying. I exhaled, relieved. You sure? She nodded. I'll be fine. I was halfway to the door when she called, Wait, I need to call my mom. I forgot my phone. Can I borrow yours for a second? I sighed and handed it over. Yeah, but hurry, all right? She took it, dialed, and lifted it to her ear. And then she dragged it out. Her voice stayed soft, like she didn't want me to hear what she was saying. 5 minutes passed, then 7. My heart pounded harder every time I looked at the clock. I started pacing again. What the hell was she doing? Another 3 minutes ticked by before I'd had enough. Violet, I snapped. Stop the damn games and end the call already. Her eyes widened. Maybe she hadn't expected the bite in my tone. She flinched and quickly ended the conversation. I'm sorry, she mumbled, handing me the phone. I wasn't trying to, but I was already gone. I ran. Down the hospital steps, into the car. The engine roared to life immediately. I drove like hell, speeding past red lights, ignoring angry horns. My hands were sweating on the wheel. I checked the clock again. I was so late. By the time I reached the amusement park, the sun was high and the crowd was thick. My heart sank. I parked without thinking and bolted through the entrance, pushing past families and food carts and screaming kids. Kathy! I called. Aria! Noah! No answer. I spun in circles, scanning the crowd like a madman. I cursed under my breath, panicking. Where were they? Did Kathy already take them home? Was she furious with me? Why today of all days? Then I heard it, a child crying. The tone was familiar. I followed the sound. It led me near the carousel behind a cotton candy stand. I turned the corner and saw her, Aria, my little girl, sitting on the ground, sobbing. Her dress was torn, her knee was scraped and bleeding, and around her stood 3 older boys, maybe 10 or 11, laughing. Get up, crybaby, one of them sneered. She's so weird, another said. Where's your daddy now, huh? My vision went red. My wolf growled as the rage spread through me. They would pay for this. Kathy's pauvre. Noah, stop sticking the stickers to your face. You're going to pull your skin off, I said to him. He giggled and peeled the rainbow one off his cheek. He has a mischievous sparkle in his blue eyes, Cain's eyes. But Mommy, I'm a unicorn today, he declared proudly, standing on the bed with his pajamas still half on and hair standing up in all directions. And I'm a princess unicorn, Aria squealed from the other side of the room, spinning in her new purple dress that shimmered when it caught the light. Daddy's going to love my dress, right, Mommy? He has to. My smile faltered for the briefest moment. I forced a cheerful tone, kneeling between them. He's going to love it, baby. You both look amazing. I kissed their cheeks. Happy birthday, my little miracles. They both laughed as I smothered them in kisses, tickling their sides until they collapsed into a fit of giggles. Today was their 4th birthday, and we were going to the amusement park just like I promised. They'd been talking about it all week. Well, mostly about seeing their dad at the amusement park. It was all Aria could think about. He's going to take me on the Ferris wheel, she declared for the 5th time that morning, skipping around the room in excitement. And he's going to win me a giant teddy bear. No, he's winning me the bear, Noah argued, hands on his hips. I'm the birthday boy, too. You can share, I offered gently. But he's my daddy, too, Aria added softly. He's coming, right, Mommy? You said he's coming. I looked between their hopeful little faces. My stomach twisted with anxiety, but I smiled like my heart wasn't cracking. Yes, sweetheart, he's coming. I hoped he was. The drive to the amusement park was filled with music and laughter. Aria sang every word of the birthday song on repeat, while Noah kept pointing out every colorful balloon vendor and carousel we passed. I kept glancing at my phone, chewing my bottom lip, hoping, praying, that Cain would show up. He said he would. He promised. When we arrived, I parked close to the entrance, unbuckled them, and crouched to fix Arya's sparkly headband. All right, birthday twins, what's the first thing we want to do? Cotton candy, they both shouted in unison, making me laugh. But still no Kane. I scanned the crowd as we waited in line. My phone buzzed. I got a bit hopeful as I opened my phone, thinking it was a text from Kane, but it was just a birthday alert from some app. I discreetly called Kane, but it kept disconnecting. That's when I realized something. He blocked me. That bastard. My chest constricted. That bastard. My wolf stirred. She still clung to the hope that maybe something had gone wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. He blocked you, I reminded her coldly. If something was wrong, he would have called. I clenched the phone tightly in my fist, forcing myself to breathe. I couldn't fall apart. Not now, not in front of them. Where's Daddy? Noah asked, looking up with innocent curiosity. Yeah, Mommy, you said he'd be here, Arya added, bouncing on her toes. He will, I lied with a smile. Maybe he's stuck in traffic. Let's get cotton candy first. They exchanged looks but nodded. I could see the disappointment beginning to creep in, but they were trying to be strong, trying to trust me. It made it so much worse. We bought snacks and pink lemonade. I handed them their drinks, trying to keep them distracted with everything I could think of. But their eyes kept scanning the crowd. I caught Arya staring longingly at every tall man who passed. It broke me. Still, I knelt again and kissed her forehead. Let's not worry about Daddy right now. Let's make this day all about you, okay? Okay, she mumbled. We explored the entire park. I let them ride the carousel 4 times in a row. I carried Noah on my back through the pirate cave, pretending I was the brave captain, leading him through enemy territory. I twirled Arya around in front of the cotton candy stand until she laughed loudly. I took so many photos. Arya posing beside a giant plush unicorn she wanted. Noah holding a water gun like he was a real-life superhero. The twins holding each other's hands on the kiddie roller coaster, screaming in glee and fear all at once. My cheeks ached from smiling. But every time I looked away from them, every single time, I scanned the crowd again. Still, no Kane. My wolf whispered again, unsure this time. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe he didn't mean to. He blocked us, I reminded her. He's not coming. Stop defending him. And yet, that ache, that foolish, hopeless ache wouldn't leave. Hours passed, the sun began to set. The laughter in the park didn't fade but it felt distant now. I sat with the twins on a bench, handing them small bags of popcorn as the music played around us. Noah looked up at me. Mommy, is Daddy still coming? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I blinked fast to chase away the burn in my eyes. I'm sure he wanted to, baby, I said gently. But maybe something came up. Did he forget? Arya whispered. No, I whispered back. He didn't forget. Sometimes grown-ups just make mistakes. They looked so confused, so heartbroken. I pulled them both close and kissed the tops of their heads. Come on, I said, standing up. Let's end the day with a ride on the bumper cars, yeah? They nodded, wiping their faces, and followed me hand in hand. My heart was heavy, but I was proud of them. They were trying so hard to enjoy the day. We made it halfway toward the ride when I turned. Noah? I asked softly. Where's Arya? He looked beside him and blinked. She was just... I spun around. The crowd thickened. Children ran past. Parents called out, but she wasn't there. Arya? I called. No response. I started to panic. I crouched, looking under the tables. I turned in circles. She was gone. My baby girl was gone. Arya! I screamed, shoving through the crowd. Arya! The world tilted. She was gone. Kane's povee. The moment I spotted her, my chest clenched. Arya was on the ground. Her cheeks were pink from either the heat or humiliation, maybe both. 3 little boys stood over her, laughing as she wiped at her eyes, trying not to cry. My vision turned red. I didn't care that they were just kids. My daughter was crying. I walked over without a second thought. Hey! My voice came out loud, almost a growl. The boys flinched, turning toward me with wide eyes. You got a problem picking on little girls? I asked. They looked at each other and then back at me, as if realizing too late who I was. One of them gasped. Oh, no. Alpha Kane? Yeah, I said flatly. You want to pick on someone, try someone your own size. The other boy bowed his head quickly. We're sorry, sir. We didn't know she was your daughter. I stepped closer, towering over them. Even if she wasn't, you don't treat people like that. Now get lost. They scrambled away. mumbling apologies. Their faces went pale. I watched until they were out of sight. A second later, I felt the smallest tug on my jeans. "Daddy?" Arya threw herself into my arms and I bent down instantly, scooping her up. Her little hands clung to my shoulders and my heart cracked at the warmth of her hug. "I've been waiting for you," she said against my neck. I held her tighter, kissing her hair. "I'm sorry, baby girl. I came as fast as I could." She pulled back to look at me with those big eyes. "You're really here?" "Yeah, Pumpkin, I'm really here." I smiled softly. "Now, where's your mom and Noah?" Arya sniffled, wiping her face. "They were by the carousel, but I saw cotton candy and ran. I'm sorry." I exhaled. "It's okay. Let's go find them, all right?" I held her close as I followed the direction she pointed. I was halfway to the carousel when I saw a flash of frantic movement. Kathy. She was running, her eyes scanning the crowd wildly. The moment her gaze landed on Arya and me, relief flooded her entire face. Her steps quickened and she practically flew the last few feet. "Arya," she cried, pulling her from my arms and dropping to her knees. "Baby, where have you been? I was worried sick." Arya wrapped her arms around Kathy's neck. "Daddy saved me. Some boys were being mean, but he made them go away." Kathy kissed her over and over before setting her down. "You can't just run off like that, sweetheart." Mommy was scared. "I'm sorry, Mommy," she said, hugging her tightly. I was about to speak when I felt something latch onto my leg. I looked down to see Noah hugging me like I was some kind of superhero. "Hi, Daddy," he mumbled shyly. Something shattered in me, in the best way possible. I crouched down and hugged him. "Hi, champ. Happy birthday. How are you?" His little hands gripped my jacket. "I'm okay. We waited for you." My voice caught, but I swallowed it. "I know. I'm sorry." There was a pause, an awkward one. Kathy stood, pulling Arya up with her. Her eyes met mine for a moment. Then Noah clapped his hands. "Can we go on more rides now?" His voice broke the tension. Arya nodded eagerly. "Yeah! Let's go on the spinning cups!" Kathy hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." We walked together, the twins on either side of us. I could feel the anger radiating off Kathy, but even though she said nothing, the silence between us was almost louder than if she'd screamed. We ended up at one of the spinning rides shaped like oversized teacups. The kids ran ahead, giggling, while I hung back next to her. She didn't look at me. I ran a hand through my hair. "I'm sorry, Kathy." "Save it," she said, not even glancing my way. "No, please, just let me explain." She folded her arms, still watching the kids. "Go on, then." "I'm sorry for coming late. I was getting ready to leave when Violet fainted. I had to take her to the hospital. She's okay now, just a reaction to some medication. I didn't mean to be late." "You blocked me." I looked at her in confusion. "No, I didn't." "Then why did my calls go straight to voicemail?" she asked coldly. I sighed. I don't even know. She turned to me then, finally, and her eyes weren't just angry, they were hurt. "You think I haven't heard this before, Kane?" Her voice was low. "Do you have any idea what I went through today, making up stories for them, trying to keep their hopes alive while slowly watching them break?" I had no answer. I just stared at her, because she was right. "They were so excited," she continued, softer now. "They kept talking about you all morning, and when you didn't show up—" "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm not the one you need to apologize to." I looked away, feeling guilty. Still, we spent the next hour watching the kids scream with joy on rides. At some point, Arya called me to join them in the mini bumper cars. We went on a few rides together. I let Noah sit on my shoulders. We took photos. For a few moments, it felt like family. Kathy's povey. That night, I expected a quiet celebration at home, but I walked into something entirely different. The backyard was filled with balloons, fairy lights strung across the trees, and two large, 4 balloons glittering in the middle. There was a table stacked with presents and a cake shaped like a castle with Arya and Noah's name spelled out in stars. Arya gasped. "This is for us?" Noah's eyes lit up like Christmas. "Wah!" I stood frozen, stunned. My heart pounded. I didn't do this. James didn't plan anything like this either. This must be Kane. Kane came up beside me, rubbing the back of his neck. I figured they deserved something special. "You did all this?" I asked in awe. He shrugged. "I wanted to make up for this morning. Beside, it's their birthday. They deserve the best. If I knew earlier, I would have done more." The kids tore into the party with squeals of delight. There were bubbles, music, and even a magician. Arya danced barefoot on the grass, and Noah laughed until he hiccuped. Other kids were present, which made it more fun. They hugged Cain at least 10 times, calling him the best daddy in the world. My throat tightened. I hadn't seen them this happy in years. Even my wolf purred in contentment. She nudged at me, urging me to feel what she felt, peace. After we cut the cake and handed out slices, Cain pulled me aside gently, just as I was gathering plates. "Kathy," he said, "I know I've let you down too many times to count, but today I tried, and I want to keep trying." I didn't answer right away. "I'm not asking you to take me back," he added quickly. "I just want to be in their lives. Please, give me that chance." I looked at the kids. Arya was handing cake to her stuffed bear. Noah was trying to fit a party hat on the dog. The other kids were laughing with them. They looked safe, loved, happy. I turned back to Cain. His eyes had a raw sincerity I hadn't seen in a long time. I exhaled slowly. "All right," his eyebrows shot up. "Wait, really?" I nodded. "You can be their father. But that's all, Cain, one step at a time." His face lit up with happiness. "Thank you, Kathy. I won't mess this up." I hope to God he meant it. We both turned back to the party, watching as the twins danced in the glow of the lights. And for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to hope. Kathy's pove. The next morning had a calmness to it. I was glad that the twins had a great birthday yesterday. The kids were outside giggling and chasing butterflies. Arya's hair formed a halo in the sunlight. Noah's cheeks were pink from running around. I smiled as I watched them. They were perfect. And then I smelled him. Pine, cedar, strength. I turned just in time to see Derek step out of the black SUV. His tall form was as confident and commanding as always, but his smile, the one he reserved just for me, was what made my breath catch in my throat. "Derek," I whispered. My feet were already moving before I told them to. "Hey, sweetheart," he said. His arms opened, and I flew into them. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed him until he was right here, wrapped around me. "I'm so glad you're here," I murmured into his shirt. "I told you I'd come as soon as I could." He pulled back, brushing a strand of hair from my cheeks. "I hate that I wasn't here yesterday. Happy birthday to the twins." "They missed you," I said, just as Arya shrieked with joy. "Uncle Derek," she squealed, followed closely by Noah, who barreled into his legs with enough force to almost make him fall. Derek laughed, crouching down to hug them both. "Happy birthday, guys. I come bearing gifts." Their eyes lit up as he handed them a box each. Arya tore hers open to find a necklace with a tiny wolf charm, and Noah got a new slingshot, just what he'd been begging for. "Thank you, Uncle Derek," they chorused. I watched them with a huge smile. "Thank you," I said to Derek. He smiled. "No problem. Anything for you." Once the excitement died down and the kids were distracted again, Derek turned to me with that knowing look. "You said it was urgent. I'm ready to see Cain." The walk to Cain's office was thick with tension for some reason. Maybe it was an alpha dominance thing. I had no idea. I could feel Derek's energy shift. I could feel his alpha aura just beneath his skin. I'd only seen him like this in moments of high stakes. War councils, territorial disputes, pack court decisions. Cain stood as we entered. He smiled when he saw me, but a frown appeared on his face when Derek came in. He looked a bit confused. "Alpha Cain," I said softly, stepping slightly forward. "This is Alpha Derek. No need for introductions. They already knew each other." Cain's jaw tightened slightly, but he offered his hand. "Welcome." "Thanks," Derek said with a nod. He shook Cain's hand firmly. I swallowed the knot in my throat, praying they wouldn't let testosterone ruin everything. "Cain," I said, "we recovered the deleted messages from my mother's phone." That caught his attention. "What did they say?" "They were from an anonymous number. They mentioned something about a poison that traces back to Nightfang." Cain's brow furrowed. "Nightfang? That pack was disbanded over a decade ago. No formal alliances, no trade." Derek stepped forward, pulling a file from the inner pocket of his coat. "Here, I brought evidence. My tech team traced the message ping to a location just outside Nightfang's old borders. There's still some underground activity there. Rogue alchemists, smugglers." Cain took the file, looking at the file. His fingers twitched. "This changes things." He called in the detective, who entered a few minutes later. I tensed. "I need you to verify something," Cain said to him. "Kathy's mother, Gina, does she have any known connections to Nightfang?" The detective pulled out a tablet, tapping through records. I couldn't breathe. My hands were cold. If they found something, if this came back to her. Nothing, the detective finally said. No phone calls, no visits, no purchases, no contact at all. She's clean. Relief hit me hard. I let out a shaky breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Derek touched my lower back, calming me again. She's innocent, I whispered. She's always been. I knew it. Kane turned to me. We'll release her. The sun had just started dipping when I walked my mother out of the prison cell. She looked older, tired, like the past few weeks had sucked the life out of her. But her eyes met mine with tears. I didn't do it, she whispered. I know. I wrapped my arms around her. I'm so sorry. We stood like that for a long time. As I helped her into a guest room to rest, I made a silent vow. I would find the real killer, and I had a very good idea who it was. Violet. The name was a curse on my tongue. I knew I needed proof. Words weren't enough anymore, so I made a plan. I bribed Gemma, the Omega assigned to tend to Violet. She was shy and quiet, but desperate for money to send to her sick brother. I slipped her a bundle of cash. Watch her. Everything she does. Where she goes, who she talks to. If she throws away a letter, I want it. If she whispers in the dark, I want to know what she said. No one can know, not even your mother. Understand? I said to her. Gemma nodded. Yes, I understand. As she disappeared down the corridor, I leaned against the cold stone wall and exhaled. My fingers trembled. Not from fear, from fury. Violet had stolen my father from me. I would not let her get away with it. I would be quiet, careful, deadly, because justice wasn't just about clearing my mother's name. It was about bringing out very hidden lie and burning them all to ash. Cain's peau vive. I thought my life had meaning and purpose, all because I was alpha. But I was wrong. I realized it the moment I saw Noah and Arya again. Their scent, their laughter, the way their eyes sparkled like Kathy's, it was like having sunlight in my life. They made me complete. I wanted to spend more time with them. So, today, I asked Kathy if I could take them out. Just me and them. No guards, no politics. We would spend the whole day together. I'd clear my whole schedule for them. Today, I would be just a father trying to learn who his children were. She was hesitant at first, rightfully so, but when I looked her in the eyes and promised I'd protect them with my life, she nodded. And that was how I found myself buckling Noah into his booster seat while Arya giggled in the back. Where are we going, Daddy? Arya asked, tilting her head. I froze. It was the first time she'd called me that. The word warmed my heart. To the best day of your life, I answered with a smile. We started at the arcade. Yeah, not exactly a noble alpha's first stop, but the twins, they were firecrackers in a bottle. Noah picked every racing game. I'm gonna beat you, Daddy, he shouted as he steered his car wildly. You wish, pup, I smirked, pretending to try, letting him win while Arya munched popcorn and coached him like a mini drill sergeant. We moved to the mini zoo after that. Arya's favorite animal? The bunnies, she whispered like it was a secret, nuzzling against one. Noah wanted the hawks. They look like they can fly forever. Can I fly someday, Daddy? You can do anything you want, I told him. But you already soar. Just ask your mom. Their faces lit up every time I mentioned Kathy. It hurt in the best and worst ways. She raised them to love fiercely. She raised them well. We ended up at a field next to the woods, tossing a frisbee around. It was ridiculous. My royal attire was long gone, my shoes were stained with dirt, my sleeves were rolled up, and yet I hadn't felt this free in years. When Arya ran up and kissed my cheek before tumbling into my lap, I held her close, brushing her curls back. I love you, Daddy, she said softly. I love you, baby girl, I whispered, swallowing hard. And when Noah came barreling into us, demanding hugs, we all fell into a pile of laughter and limbs. I had never felt more whole. Later, I took them to the local park, the one Kathy said they liked near the lake. I bought 3 cones, 2 vanilla swirls, and 1 chocolate for me. Why do you eat the brown one, Daddy? Arya asked, swinging her feet. Because it tastes like moodiness and deep thoughts, I teased, taking a dramatic bite. Arya giggled. That's silly. It is, Noah spoke. His face was smeared with ice cream. You should eat the pink one. Mama says pink is happiness. Does she now? I smiled. They sat with me on the bench, one on each side. Their little legs dangled, swinging back and forth. Does Mommy ever get sad? Noah asked suddenly. The question landed like a punch to the ribs. Sometimes, I said honestly. Arya frowned. She sings when she's sad. That means she's missing someone. My throat closed up. And who do you think she's missing? Arya looked at her twin and then at me. You. The air shifted. I felt like I couldn't breathe. These kids, these tiny versions of Kathy and me, they knew more than I expected, felt deeper than I gave them credit for. They were too smart for 4-year-olds. Then Noah added, "But she's not sad today. She said she was going on a date." I froze. "A what?" Arya nodded. She wore her pretty hair and said Alpha Derek was taking her to see horses. The name almost stopped my heart. Derek. My jaw clenched and my wolf growled violently inside me. The possessiveness rose fast. Kathy, with Derek. Derek? No. That wasn't happening. Not under my watch. But I smiled. I smiled for my kids. That's nice, I said. I'm glad she's happy. They didn't notice the war going on inside my head. After I dropped them off with James, I got into my car and drove. I didn't have an address, but I had a nose. I found them at the horse ranch just outside the border. My fingers clenched when I saw them. I saw Kathy first. She looked so beautiful in the sunlight. She was laughing, that soft, radiant laugh I hadn't heard in years, and he was standing beside her, helping her onto a dark chestnut horse like he had the right to touch her. Derek. My wolf went ballistic. He was too close, too familiar. His hand brushed her waist as he whispered something that made her cheeks turn pink. I growled low in my throat. Kathy looked beautiful, but she was mine. I didn't care if we were broken. I didn't care if she hated me. The way I felt watching another man put his hands on her make her laugh like that. It cracked something inside me wide open. This will not happen. Kathy's povee. I hadn't expected to enjoy myself as much as I did. The horse ranch Derek brought me to was just beyond the border. Derek had a way of making everything feel light, easy. As he helped me down from the ranch truck, his hand held mine. "You okay?" he asked, smiling with those gentle eyes. "Yeah," I said, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "Just haven't been out like this in a while." He chuckled. "Well, let's fix that." We wandered past the fences, pausing by the stable to admire a tall, white mare. Derek leaned against the wood post, watching me instead of the horse. "She's beautiful," I said, reaching out to stroke the mare's soft nose. "So are you," he said, and I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. I looked away, flustered. He was always like this, kind, considerate, and charming. I knew 100 women who would kill for someone like him. And yet, my mind kept drifting. My body was here, but my heart kept pulling me back to him. Cain. Even thinking his name felt like dragging nails across my skin. 4 years apart, 4 years of silence, pain, and the constant ache of missing him. And yet one glance, one brush of his voice, and my wolf stirred like she'd been waiting for him all along. Even after he did terrible things to me. I shook the thought from my head and turned to Derek, forcing a smile. "So, are you any good at horseback riding?" I asked, trying to tease him. He smirked. "Are you challenging me, Kathy?" "Oh, please," I laughed. "I bet I could take you." He stepped closer. "Careful, or I might take that as a dare." I laughed again. It felt nice, genuine, safe. I liked that about Derek. He didn't make me feel like I was on edge. There were no power games with him, no guessing. But that was also the problem, wasn't it? Because despite the laughter, I couldn't shake the hollowness in my chest. Derek reached out, brushing my waist gently as he helped adjust the strap of my helmet. My heart didn't skip. My breath didn't catch. Cain's touch would have set my skin on fire. Stop thinking about him. I clenched my fists. I distracted myself by staring down at the soft dirt path beneath my boots. Derek deserved better than this. He was showing up for me, being here, making the effort. But my wolf, oh goddess, my wolf, she howled for Cain. She mourned for him even when I tried to forget. And it wasn't fair. Not to Derek, not to me. I didn't even realize how tightly my chest had knotted until I heard the slam of the barn door swing open behind us. I turned, startled. And there he was, Cain. He walked in like a storm with no warning. I could feel the anger radiating off him. His dark eyes landed on me, then on Derek, and I could practically see the fire in them. "What are you doing here?" I asked, stepping away from Derek. His gaze didn't waver from Derek. I could ask the same question. Derek stood, frowning. "Kathy and I were spending time together. Is there a problem, Cain?" The tension between them was too much. Cain didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took a slow step forward, towering over both of us. I felt my heart pound in my chest. I couldn't help but panic. What was going on? "You've got a lot of nerve showing up like this," Derek said to him. Kane's lip curled slightly. "You think you can take her on a few dates and replace me?" "Someone has to be there for her," Derek snapped. "Someone who won't throw her away." Kane growled. The sound sent shivers down my spine. "That's enough," I said, stepping between them. "This isn't a contest." Kane looked at me, and for a moment the anger softened. "Then why do you still look at me like I'm the only one you see?" I blinked, stunned. I could feel my heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't have an answer. Derek scoffed, clearly fed up. "Let's settle this." My eyes widened. "Settle what?" Kane smirked. "You're not serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," Derek said, squaring his shoulders. "A challenge. Horseback. First one around the ranch and back wins." "Wins what, exactly?" I snapped, but my voice was weak, trembling. "You," Kane said, staring straight at me. "Are you too serious right now?" I asked. "Yes," Kane said. "Kathy." Derek added, "I'm not backing down." I moved to stand between them. "This isn't some game. This is my life, my heart, not a damn prize to be won." Kane looked at me. "I'm not doing this to win a prize, Kathy. I'm doing this because I should have fought for you a long time ago." My breath hitched. Derek nodded in agreement. "And I'm doing this to prove that I can give you something Kane never could. Stability, consistency, peace." I wanted to scream, to beg them to stop this madness, but a part of me, a terrible buried part, wanted to see what would happen, wanted to see them fight, not for their egos, but for me. It was wrong. It was wrong. Messy. But it was honest. Kane turned to Derek and said, "Give me 10 minutes. I'll be back." Derek nodded. As Kane walked away toward the gear shed, I stared at Derek. He mounted his horse and stroked the mare's neck gently. "You don't have to do this," I said softly, walking to his side. "I know," he murmured, "but I want to. I need you to know I'd never let anyone take you for granted again, not even him." My heart clenched. I reached up and touched his arm gently, and he leaned into my touch. "Please be careful." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Always." 10 minutes later, we walked together to the racing field. I stood at the far edge, near the old wooden fence. Kane was already waiting. He was on a powerful black stallion that matched the darkness of his eyes. He looked like he belonged on that horse. He wore a fitted black shirt and riding gloves. When Derek came up beside him, the tension in the air spiked again. The two men exchanged nothing more than a stiff nod before turning their attention to the starting line. I chewed on my lip. I couldn't help but feel anxious. My heart beat too fast. I didn't know if I was praying for one of them to win, or for the entire thing to be called off. The race began with a signal. The stable hand dropped the red flag, and they were off. The ground thundered beneath their hooves. The horses galloped across the field. My breath caught in my throat as they rounded the first curve, almost neck to neck. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Kane leaned low over his horse's back. Derek pushed harder, urging his mare forward. The second bend came. This one was sharper than the first. Derek slipped a little. His horse buckled. My heart stopped. "No!" I screamed. Kane glanced back for just a second, and that split-second pause gave him just enough time to steady himself before surging forward again. They came toward the finish, but it was clear now. Kane had won. He crossed first. But I wasn't cheering. Because behind him, Derek's horse stumbled. His body twisted awkwardly, and he hit the floor hard. The mare reared in panic, whinnying. "Derek!" I screamed. I ran. I didn't hesitate. I just ran. Kane's POV. The wind whipped against my face as my horse moved past the finish line. I gripped the reins with one hand and held my other fist high in the air. I won. My horse came to a slow trot as the finish line faded behind me, and the realization hit me. I had done it. I beat Derek, but the thrill was short-lived. I could hear some sounds behind me. I turned my head. That's when I saw him. Derek was crumpled on the ground. His horse neighed and kicked up dirt as it ran off. "What the hell?" I muttered under my breath. My chest tightened at the sight of him. I knew more than anyone how serious horsing accidents could be. Kathy's scream rang out before I could even react. "Derek!" She was already running before I had even dismounted. Her hair whipped behind her. I could hear the sounds of her boots hitting the earth. My heart dropped as I saw her fall to her knees beside him. No, 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 no. I jumped down from my horse, my legs moving on their own. "Derek!" I shouted. My voice caught in my throat as I sprinted toward them. He was lying on his side, his face twisted in pain. Kathy's hands hovered over him, not sure where to touch. Her expression was filled with panic and concern. "Is he okay? Kathy, what happened?" I dropped to my knees beside them. Kathy didn't even look at me. She was brushing dirt from Derek's face, whispering, "Talk to me. Where does it hurt?" Derek groaned. "My shoulder, I think I landed on it wrong." I reached forward wanting to help, but Kathy slapped my hand away. Her eyes snapped to mine. They were filled with so much anger. "This is your fault, Kane," she shrieked. I blinked. "What? Are you serious?" "You pushed him too far." "You were racing like a madman," she said. "You brought up the idea." "Kathy, come on. We both agreed to the damn race. I didn't force him to do it. He wanted to do this as much as I did." "Don't twist this around," she spat. Her face was red with fury. "You've been obsessed with beating him. What kind of man brings up the idea of a horse race to win over a woman anyway?" My voice faltered. "I didn't know this would happen. We both agreed." Derek coughed beside us, trying to sit up. "Kathy, I'm okay." But Kathy was far from done. She turned to me again. "You never cared about winning. You only did this to prove you were better than him. And for what? To boost your pride? To win me like I'm some kind of trophy?" I felt something twist deep in my gut. "That's not true. I did it to prove I could fight for you, that I won't give up on you like I did before." She stood up slowly. I could feel the fury radiating from her. "You don't fight for someone by tearing other people down, Kane. You fight for them by being there, by not hurting the people they care about." Derek winced as he tried to move again, and Kathy was instantly back beside him, cradling his head. Her voice was soft now. "Don't move. Just rest." I stared at them, at her, how her entire body shifted when she was near him, the way she held him like he was something fragile, something worth everything. I began, still kneeling in the dirt. "You think I'm selfish, don't you?" She didn't even look at me this time. "You don't care about anyone but yourself, Kane. You just want to win, even if it means someone else has to lose." That stung more than I wanted to admit. My mouth opened to protest, but Derek of all people cut in. "Kathy, please. It's not all Kane's fault." "No," she snapped. "Don't defend him." I rose to my feet, jaw clenched. "This is ridiculous. You act like I sabotaged him." "Don't you get it?" she hissed. "He held back for you." I froze. "What?" Kathy stood now, standing toe-to-toe with me. "Derek could have won that race. He's faster, more experienced, but he held back because he didn't want to humiliate you." "No," I muttered. "That can't be true." But the way Derek avoided my eyes told me otherwise, my fists clenched at my sides. "Unbelievable," I whispered. "So all of it was just for show?" Kathy didn't answer. She just knelt again beside Derek, brushing his hair from his face. The sight made something inside me snap. I turned without a word and walked away. My boots pounded against the dry ground, and I didn't look back. Not once. My wolf was growling now, demanding that I punch something. I just needed air. I needed to calm myself and my wolf down. I didn't know how long I wandered the trails behind the stables. The sun had begun to set. My hands trembled with frustration. Why did it feel like no matter what I did, I still came second to her? Would she ever love me again? I didn't want her to see me like this. But damn it, I wanted her to see me, the real me, not the arrogant, reckless Alpha Kane everyone thought I was. When I finally walked back, the stables were quiet now. That's when I saw them. Kathy was sitting on the bench beside the barn with Derek leaning against her. His arm was in a makeshift sling. She was whispering something to him, tucking a blanket around his shoulders. Her hand rested lightly on his chest. The way he looked at her. It broke me. I stood in the shadows, unseen. My chest felt hollow. That tenderness, that closeness, it wasn't just concern anymore. It was something deeper. They looked like they belonged together. I thought if I won, I'd matter to her. That Kathy could look at me the way she looked at him. But I was wrong. I backed away. Maybe I had always been the villain in my own story. And maybe it was too late to fix that now. Kane's povee. I shouldn't have come here. The bar. But I needed to drown my sorrows. The scent of old beer filled the air outside. The neon light from the bar's sign flickered weakly above me as I stepped inside. It was some downtown hole in the wall I barely remembered existing. But it was far from the pack's eyes, far from their expectations. And I didn't want to be alpha tonight. I wanted to be nothing. The moment I stepped through the door, a dozen heads turned my way. Some looked at me in recognition, but none dared approach. Good. I wasn't in the mood for apologies or pleasantries. I wanted silence or noise, anything to drown out the thoughts tearing at my mind. I staggered to the bar, pulled out the nearest stool, and sat. "Whiskey," I told the bartender. "Neat. Keep it coming." He gave me a side glance, hesitant, but didn't ask questions, just poured. The first sip burned all the way down, the second numbed my tongue. By the third, I was already feeling that slow, empty warmth in my chest. But it didn't dull the ache. Not really. Nothing could. I gritted my teeth as Kathy's face flashed in my mind again. Her lips, her voice, her eyes, filled with disappointment and pain. Not for herself, but for me. And then Derek's face. The way she looked at him. The way she never looked at me. I slammed the glass down harder than I meant to. It cracked, but didn't break. Damn thing was sturdier than I felt right now. "Bad night?" the bartender asked, refilling the glass. I gave him a bitter smirk. "You could say that." He nodded like he'd seen the type before. "Want to talk about it?" I stared at him. He was older, weathered, probably a wolf, though not a strong one. His scent was faint. His soul felt tired. And yet, something about his presence made me speak. "I was jealous," I muttered, tracing the rim of the glass with my finger, "of someone I never should have been jealous of." He leaned forward. Didn't say anything, just listened. "I had her," I whispered. "She was mine. We were married. She's my mate." His brow lifted. "You lost her?" "I broke her," I admitted. "Pushed her away. Over and over. I treated her badly because of someone else. I was arrogant and drunk on power. And now she's with someone else. Someone who's everything I'm not." The bartender didn't flinch. Jealousy's a cruel thing. Eats you alive from the inside. "Yeah," I scoffed bitterly. "I tried to get her back today again. Thought I was proving myself, fighting for her. But all I really did was fight her. And him. And now." I looked at my shaking hands. "I think I ruined everything." I paused, then added, "There's no redemption for someone like me. Not after what I did. Not after what I did to her." The bartender looked at me thoughtfully, wiping a glass with a worn rag. "You want to know something, Alpha?" he asked quietly. He knew who I was? I looked at him. "What?" "I lost my mate, too." That made me pause. 10 years ago. I was young, stupid, thought I could have her and still live like I was single, took her for granted, lied, let other women get too close, hurt her real bad. "What happened?" I asked. "She left me," he said simply. "And I thought that was it. End of the story." I leaned in. "But," he smiled faintly, "but I fought, not with fists, with truth. I humbled myself. Took me 2 years, but I showed her I'd changed, that I meant it. Now we've got 3 pups, and she still slaps me upside the head when I forget the milk." Despite myself, I chuckled. Just a little. "There's always redemption," he said. "But it doesn't come easy. You gotta earn it." I nodded slowly, staring at my reflection in the half-empty bottle of whiskey. "I don't know if she'll ever forgive me." "Then start by forgiving yourself," he said, pouring me one last drink. "And if you love her, don't stop fighting." I was silent for a long moment. The warmth in my chest was gone now. But his words, damn, they gave me something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I was about to thank him when her scent hit me before her voice did. Oh, what a surprise. A voice purred. Violet. I didn't even turn. She slid onto the stool next to me like she belonged there. Her perfume was thick. It made my wolf recoil instantly. "Not now, Violet," I muttered. What the hell was she doing here? How did she know I was here anyway? Was she stalking me? I wouldn't put it past her. Ever since I told her she wouldn't be Luna, she doubled her efforts on me. "Come on," she said, draping her arm across the back of my chair. "You look miserable. I thought we could relive old times." I tensed. "Leave me alone." "You used to like it when I showed up like this," she purred, inching closer. "You and me, we had chemistry. Don't pretend we didn't." "I'm not pretending," I said coldly. "I'm remembering, and I hate every second of it." That made her eyes flash. She leaned closer, placing her hand on my thigh. "I can remind you just how good we were." I grabbed her wrist and shoved her hand away. "Don't touch me." "Kane, I mean it, Violet." I stood up abruptly, knocking my stool over. "You're the last person I want to see right now." Her face darkened. "You think she's going to take you back? After everything?" "I don't know," I said, pushing past her. but I'd rather chase a maybe with her than live another second of pretending with you." I didn't wait for her reply. I left the bar. The night air was cold. The streets blurred around me as I stumbled toward Kathy's house. My wolf howled in my chest, restless and aching. I drowned in whiskey, but somehow I was still sober enough to hurt. I needed to see her. Just one more time. I knew the path by heart. I didn't go to the door. I went to the balcony, the place she always stood when she wanted to think, the place she used to watch the stars from. I crept quietly around the side. That's when I saw them. Her silhouette in the soft yellow light, and Derek's beside her. They were close, too close. I froze. I couldn't breathe. And then it happened. She leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't hesitant. It wasn't unsure. It was real. It was the final nail in the coffin of what we used to be. I didn't say anything, didn't make a sound. I turned around and walked away. The air was suddenly too thick, like it was pressing down on my chest. My heart shattered into pieces I couldn't gather fast enough. My wolf whimpered inside me, clawing to break free, howling with grief. I'd lost her, and this time I didn't think I'd ever get her back. Kathy's Pove? When Kane stormed out of the stables, I felt like I could finally breathe again. But that relief only lasted a second. My hands trembled as I tore open the med kit. Derek sat on the small wooden stool behind me, wincing as he took off his torn shirt. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, and his eye was already starting to swell shut. I bit down on the urge to cry. He didn't deserve that. None of this was supposed to happen. That arrogant, selfish... I hissed through my teeth, dabbing antiseptic on a long cut on Derek's side. How dare he just demand a race? Derek gave a half smile, half wince. "Kathy." "No," I snapped. "Don't defend him, Derek. Don't you dare." "I wasn't going to," he said softly. "I was just going to say, maybe don't be too hard on him." I paused, staring at him like he'd lost his mind. "Excuse me? He's hurting," Derek said gently. "And you know alphas aren't exactly the best at dealing with their emotions." I slammed the bottle of antiseptic on the wooden bench. "Him? He's hurting. What about me, Derek? What about what I've gone through? He had years to choose me, to fight for me, and now he comes back all possessive and territorial and expects what? Gratitude?" My wolf stirred inside me, and I felt her trying to reason with me. "He's trying now," she whispered. "At least he came back." "No," I growled quietly, clutching a clean cloth in my fist. "He should have come back years ago. He should have fought for me when I needed him most, not now when I'm finally trying to move on. It's not fair." Derek reached for my hand, his fingers wrapped around mine gently. "Kathy," he said, his voice lower now, "any man in his right mind would want to fight for you." I looked at him then, really looked at him. His brown eyes were warm and kind, and for a moment I saw the future I could have had, one without the pain, the waiting, the heartbreak. But nothing stirred in me. There was no spark. Not like the one Kane's touch sparked every time he touched me. When he grabbed my arm, the heat that exploded down my spine, the way my knees always buckled, the way his voice, even when angry, made my wolf whimper. I shook my head slightly and looked away. "Thank you," I whispered, reaching for more gauze. "But you shouldn't have had to race him for me." Derek smiled, even though his lip was bleeding. "Maybe not, but I would, every time." I forced a smile. I appreciated him. I really did. But appreciation and love, they're not the same. We fell into silence with me cleaning his cuts, him watching me closely. He asked about the kids. It was comforting, safe. But even with all of that, my heart kept flickering to Kane. Where had he gone? Later that evening, Derek came home with us. He was limping slightly, but he grinned when the kids came rushing to greet him. "Uncle Derek!" Arya squealed, throwing her arms around his legs. "Hey, kiddo," he chuckled, scooping her up with a wince. "Careful, I'm a little bruised." "Ooh, you look like you got in a fight with a tree," James said as he stepped into the hallway. "Something like that," Derek laughed. My mom appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Mama, this is Derek," I introduced. "He's a friend." Her eyes moved between the bruises on his face and the tension in my posture. She nodded slowly, then smiled. "Nice to meet you, Alpha Derek," she bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you for everything you've done for my family. I've heard a lot about you." Derek smiled. "The pleasure is all mine. Come, sit, eat something." We all sat down to dinner. Derek charmed them with stories, helped Noah with a tricky math problem, and even sang a silly song with Arya. I should have felt full, content. I should have felt something. But instead, I sat there with a frozen smile, glancing at my phone every few minutes, hoping, praying that Kane would text, call, anything. He didn't. The next day, I acted like I didn't care. I took Mom to the market, helped James fix the old swing in the backyard, and laughed when Derek made bad jokes about chickens crossing the road. I told myself I was fine. But by the third day, the emptiness crept in my chest. Where was he? Was he really that angry? Had he just left again? I threw myself into chores, into the kids, into anything that would keep my mind busy. Derek took me on long walks around the lake. We went to the small diner in town where he let me order 2 milkshakes and teased me for finishing both. He even took me to the movies. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him. But at night, I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, thinking about Kane. Thinking about how he'd looked at me in the stables, eyes burning like I was the only thing that mattered. Thinking about how his voice had broken when he called me his. Was he mine, though? The kids asked about him constantly. "Mama, where's Dad?" Arya asked as she brushed her doll's hair. "He's busy," I replied, my voice too tight. "When is he coming back?" Noah asked at dinner, eyes hopeful. "I don't know, baby," I whispered, turning away so they wouldn't see the sadness in my eyes. Derek tried to fill the space. He played board games with them, watched cartoons, brought over cookies and toys, and still, every time he touched my hand, I thought of Kane. Every time he smiled, I remembered Kane's frown. Every time he laughed, I heard Kane's silence. It wasn't fair, not to Derek, not to me. But I couldn't help it. I missed him so damn much.